And so there's still a large amount of growth ahead of all of us. In terms of different spaces, you've got very low penetration of backup among consumers and small businesses. So we're at the beginning of a massive adoption curve, but we still have a lot of growth ahead of us. In other words, this is a pretty good time for you to be getting into the online backup industry. The technology is established, it's well understood. Consumers and businesses are moving to it in droves, but there's still many of them who have not yet made the move. So ample opportunity, I think, for you to get into the online backup business. What are the growth drivers? Well, generally, online backup is being fueled by two growth drivers. One is an overall software industry movement to the cloud, and the other is a massive explosion in the amount of data being generated by both consumers and by comes from safe off-site online backup. So let's turn now and actually look at the SOS technology, and this is usually the part of the presentation where I get the most questions. So please, if you've got techie questions, this is the time to ask them. SOS, from a product strategy standpoint, is designed around four key principles. The system's meant to help you protect your data, access your data, share your data, and manage your data. So by protect, we're talking about hardcore backup and recovery. By access, we're talking about having real-time access to that data from anywhere in the world, from any device in the world, which actually has some pretty profound implications. There's a great story of another partner of ours who was on the golf course on a Sunday morning and got a phone call from a client who asked him, Greg, about 3 years ago I prepared a presentation for such and such a customer. I know it's in the backup repository. I don't know where it is. I need you to recover it for me. It's urgent, and I need it by 9 a.m. in the morning. Well, with traditional backup technology, that would be an almost impossible task. If it would be possible, it would require Greg to leave the golf course, go to the customer's site, search through potentially 50, 60 tapes, a nightmare to actually find that data. In this case, Greg actually used our iPhone app, which had just been released, and from the golf course, searched through several years' worth of backup history for that customer that he'd been maintaining, found a bunch of files that seemed to meet the rough description, shot them to the customer. One of those files was what the customer needed, and Greg did all of that literally without leaving the course. That is a side benefit of having an online backup service, that you've got immediate real-time access to that data, but it's also pretty profound. I'm not familiar with any other technology that allows you to do that, allows you to crawl through in real time and access all of the data from all of your computers. So it really is very powerful. And it's different to online storage. And here's why. And a lot of people get online storage and online backup confused. With online storage, the cloud becomes the primary repository of the data, and it's always a subset of your data. So you might have a collaboration folder in the cloud with, say, 20 gigs worth of data in it. With online backup, the primary copy is the local copy, and the cloud is a perfect snapshot-based replication of every moment in time of your local copies, but also fundamentally, it's all of your data. So for a backup to be most effective, it's got to be complete. So the cloud then becomes a total replication of all of your data, rather than just the subset that you've actually put into the collaboration folder. In that scenario with Greg on the golf course, online storage would never have got the job done, because with online storage, you simply do not put your 10 terabytes and 5 years worth of information into the cloud. It's just not feasible. But with online backup, you do have that ability. So it's a very powerful additional benefit. Sharing, we've sort of covered de facto because it was part of my little story there. But sharing is all about getting the data out of the cloud to different endpoints, either to friends and family, when you're talking about consumers, or to business colleagues and partners and customers in a business environment. And management is all about being able to manage all of those devices you have, pushing data up to the cloud. So if you're a reseller and you've got 100 customers and each of those have 10 PCs, then you're talking about 1,000 different endpoints to manage. How do you do all that? Well, you do that with SOS's management framework, which we call Pulse. So we'll turn now and actually look at some of the specific features of the software. Actually, on this previous slide, you'll see some of the awards we've won. If you're familiar with the company, you'll know that we've won many awards for our product. We generally pride ourselves on our technology and being a technology leader in the space. We've pioneered a lot of technologies that are now de facto standards in the online backup industry. So just looking at some of these technologies, continuous data protection. So our competitors simulate this. They run constantly on your PC, hogging resources and every 5 minutes checking all your, which is a very resource-intensive way to back up. With SOS, we've got a powerful scheduling module, which we'll talk about on the next slide, but we've also got a true CDP module, which will watch files that you want to back up, and as soon as they change, back them up to the cloud. And do so without using resources except when a file changes. Unlimited computers. This is really important, actually. In terms of the way most of our competitors work, they'll actually charge a license fee per seat. So, for example, Mozy charges $395 per workstation you install the software on. So for a customer with 100 PCs, that's $400 a month, that's $4,800 a year before the customer's even backed up a single byte. With SOS, you can install the software on an unlimited number of PCs and do so without any cost. And the more PCs you have connected to SOS, the more powerful it gets because of the access and sharing functionality we just talked about. Global roaming access, we've covered this, access from any device, be it a browser or be it our native apps. We've got a native app for iPhone and for BlackBerry, Android and Windows Mobile coming later this year. Free integrated local backup. So as a backup company, we follow a 3-2-1 strategy. You should have at least 3 different copies of your data on at least 2 different mediums with at least 1 off-site. So we don't encourage our customers to abandon local backup. In fact, we think you should have a backup to your backup. So we built a full local backup product into the online backup product, meaning you can back up to NAS, back up to a server, back up to a drive, and do all of that locally, which gives you super fast recoveries, but then also push the most important data to the cloud. I won't cover all of these, but just some highlights. Physical media upload. This is where you can seed your data set, where we'll send you a hard disk drive and you run the first backup to the disk, and then from there we'll seed it to the cloud so you don't have to do the upload. A timeline-based recovery system, which we've had since inception. We really should have called it Time Machine, but now Apple's got that trademarked. But the objective of our recovery wizard is to allow you to roll back to any given point in time. And the power of this is more apparent when you consider the feature beneath it, unlimited versioning. Unlike our competition, SOS keeps an unlimited history of versions. So Mozy, for example, keeps 30 versions, so does Carbonite. The problem with that is with content that's changing rapidly, particularly, say, Office documents, 30 days is just not that, or 30 versions is just not that many versions. I know in my case, that would only take me back a couple of weeks. So we've built a delta-ing engine which allows us to compress data to an extremely small fraction of its original size, and therefore lets us cost-effectively store limited version history. We've got customers with more than 5 years' worth of version histories in our system. So think about the calendar-based recovery module, and think about the unlimited computers and the unlimited versioning, and how all that combines is as follows. I can roll back my data environment to any given point in time. And so on my machine, on my account, for example, if I look at it today, there are 8 PCs backing up to it. If I go back to about a year ago, there are 3 PCs in it. And if I go back to the beginning of time, there's only 1 PC in it. And not only can I look at my environment on that network level, but I can drill in and actually look at every file and every folder and how it's changed, and use the calendar control to determine the exact point in time that I want to roll my system back to. We're the only platform that supports that kind of granular timeline-based recovery, and it's an extremely powerful component of the system. And it's really the combination of the unlimited machines, powerful recovery or timeline-based recovery, and unlimited versioning features all working together. Scheduling options are what you'd imagine, hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, or continuously, as we already saw. You can share your data with anybody who's got an email address. And then lastly, unlimited archiving. This is a subtle point, but an important one. With, so we'll look at the competitive. Mozy and Carbonite take the position that if they're backing up a file from your PC and then you delete that file from your PC, they should delete the file from the cloud. The reason being that keeping it would mean they're no longer keeping a backup, but they're now keeping an archive. Well, we don't agree with that position. We found out that more than 60% of single file recoveries on our system were because of accidental deletion. So because of that, we think it's madness to design a product that would repeat that mistake and deliberately then delete all the content from the cloud if you accidentally delete it locally. So we immediately moved that into an archive zone. So it's got archiving built into the product out of the gate. And for partners who are selling to businesses, this is extremely important. There are certain regulatory frameworks like HIPAA and Sarbanes-Oxley and PCI that require versioned, encrypted, off-site archives to be kept. And the SOS platform can actually be sold as a HIPAA-compliant archiving solution. And that's a very rich vertical to be selling online backup into, or selling the SOS product into, because this is technically archiving. But more on that in a few slides' time. Some questions here. Mark asks, did you say you provide the first perform complete backup and then send you back hard drive and then perform bit backups after that? Mark, that's an option. That's our physical media upload service. So yeah, you can do exactly that. Mark also asks, can you bring up side-by-side comparisons? Not a comparison, Mark. You could download the two files and then use, say, Word Compare or any other file comparison tool. So long as you've got a file comparison tool, then yes, you can do exactly what you said. All right, so let's look at the way the partnership program works. Our partnership program is really based around these 7 circles here. And I'm going to talk about each of these in detail. But at a high level, why partner with us? Well, there are 5 key reasons. Technology, we're the technology leader for resellers who want to get into the online backup space. And that assertion is backed up by the many awards we've won for our product. Our delivery and support infrastructure is really second to none. I'm going to talk a lot about this, but between our support organization, our partner delivery organization, a global infrastructure grid of 11 data centers worldwide, this slide's actually out of date, and our account management team, you're really not going to have, there's no other company who can provide you with the support we can, and that's support that covers marketing, sales, training, and tech support, which I'm going to talk about a lot. Revenue, of course, at the end of the day, this is about helping you drive additional revenue at up to 60 or 70% gross margin, so it's extremely profitable revenue, and it's recurring revenue. And then brand building and customer retention. Online backup is one of the stickiest services around. We have 85% customer renewal rates from year on year. So here's my question to everybody in the audience. How many of you have renewal rates as high as 85%? Most of our partners who come to us are only renewing their customers at about a 50% rate. So they've got a lot of customers churning away from them. Online backup is a fantastic way to help you reduce that churn. In terms of the way the system works, it's very much a platform as a service solution. So everything you see is built on a core platform which you can hook into. So we've got more than 350 white label partners around the world, and everything is set up to support a fully white label deployment, whether that's the back-end services, the front-end software and web portals. Our sales organization, our technical support organization is all set up to be brandable, to work under your name. Some questions here. Marcus asks, do you support an expiration framework, e.g. all data of a specific classification to expire after 7 years, at which point it gets DoD level destroyed? Marcus, no, we don't. We don't have time to live on the archiving. We're planning on building that in, so certainly 7 years from now we'll have it, but it's not something that's in the product today. Warren asks, is SOS primarily a workstation-oriented service? We are also involved with servers, especially Microsoft Small Business Servers and novel small business servers.